Yolanda Tate, I would love to welcome you to the Art of Being Freed. I really appreciate you coming on to chat with me today.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here. I mean, just to be in your presence. You know, we see each other on social media, and these social media streets and everything, and just your light, your positivity, and all that you bring into the world is just phenomenal. So I thank you, King, for allowing me to be here with you today.
Awesome. I appreciate you. And likewise, right? And I feel like that's what kind of gravitates us towards one another. We each have this light that we're willing to share with the world, right? Willingly. And I love your consistency and how you show up, and you really lean into self-care, right? And that's an ingredient that's missing in a lot of people. You look at the just the whole hustle grind culture, always go, right? Nonstop, I never sleep, and people forget to take care of themselves. So I was hoping to have just a quick conversation with you today about balancing wellness with success, right? And, I know you've experienced the challenges of balancing a successful career, right? Thank you for your service, by the way. When I was talking about this before we hit record, that it was Command Sergeant Major Yolanda Tate, right? So you've got a vast history here of just service. And I would like to just know, being that you've experienced the challenges of balancing a successful career with, personal wellness, can you share some key insights on just how to maintain harmony between your professional achievements, which sometimes can require you to go even harder once you've achieved it, and in your personal well-being? Like, how do you balance?
So first, I want to say this, that when we think of success, the first thing we automatically equate it to is from a career standpoint. Success is more than your career. Success is everything that you do in life. We all try to be successful, whether it's in our relationships, whether it's dealing with our finances, whether it's dealing with our health and our wellness. So a lot of times when I talk to people about success, I try to get them out of the mindset of thinking that it's just professional, because it's more than that. We want to be successful in everything that we do. We want to have some level of excellence in the things that we do. Most people do. Let's put it that way. Most people do. And so for me, when it's talk about finding that balance, with balance, I also try to get people to understand it's not always 50-50. As long as you can come up to that 100 some kind of way, in some seasons, you may have to hustle and grind on your job, in your relationships, and it may be, a 80-20, finding it between your professional and your personal. It may be 60-40. No matter what, you have to adapt to those seasons. But even if it's 80-20, that 20, you need to give it your all when it comes to your self-care, when it comes to your soul care. I like to say soul care, because a lot of people will be like, when you say self, that just seems like that's being selfish or something like that. And self-care isn't about being selfish. It's really about taking care of that soul, because it starts from the inside out. And so when we talk about wellness, that's another thing. The first thing people think about wellness, they think about eating right, exercising, all of that. But wellness is way beyond that. I say wellness is freedom, because it's about your spiritual, your mental, your emotional, social, financial, everything. All those dimensions of wellness is so important to us, finding that balance. But most importantly, you said the key word, harmony between our professional and our personal lives.
Well, one thing I love that you said, you talked about the seasons. And when I talk about balance and harmony, another thing I like how you said, it's not always 50-50, but eventually it does balance out in your favor if you're doing the right things with the right intention. And there might be a season of grind or hustle, but then there's also going to be a season of harvest, right? So it's like it does balance out. And I think if you have that perspective to understand that you may not get that immediate balance, but as long as you continue to sow the seeds that you need to sow, it's going to all come together for you. You know what I mean? So I really dug on that.
Yes.
When you talk about, so I was doing a lot of research. Obviously, when I mentioned Command Sergeant Major, right? But you also, I want to talk about Elevate to Wellness a little bit. And from what I've gathered, it focuses on like the holistic well-being of women executives, correct? And business owners. So how do you help individuals who may be like overwhelmed to find the time to really prioritize their health and wellness?
Well, that's every individual is different, but most of the time it always comes down to this, that a lot of people say that they lack motivation, but what they really lack is discipline. And with my time being in the military and just me just growing up, born and raised in Philly, went through some things during life, being raised, in the inner city, that whole story, not knowing your father, all that stuff. That's typical, but I could say this. My childhood actually prepared me, and my mom allowed me to think freely and to express myself, which was really good. And so she challenged me to really think outside the box with everything. And so that kind of helped me to be more structured a little bit and unstructured, but that structure part of it, which was really good. And so that's how I gravitated to the military, for that discipline. And then to be honest, I wanted to get out of Philly to be honest, and I needed to get money so I could get my mama out, because that was my plan. I was like, I'm just going in the military for 4 years just so I can get enough money, finish getting my education, get my mom out of Philly. That 4 years turned to 10, that 10 turned to 15, 15 to 20, and then 29 years later, that's when I decided to retire out of the military, because it was just that structure and discipline was good for me. And so coming to Elevate to Wellness and how this helps others. In the military, even as a senior ranking non-commissioned officer, I was struggling because, and most times I was the only female, I was the only Black female in a lot of spaces and environments. And so I didn't have anybody to talk to. And a lot of times for Black women and men, we are those go-to. The go-to for our family, the go-to at work. Everybody relies on us. So we have to put on this facade like we got it all together. We got to be all hard and tough, like nothing don't bother us. And like I would go home and I would just break down. I mean, I would be to the point that I'm like, why am I like this? But I was really going through depression, and I didn't realize it because for so long I was being so strong for everybody else. And it wasn't until I actually talked to a therapist. And I'm going to be honest, because even for me, that was hard for me to go and talk to somebody, because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm always helping everybody else. Why I got to go talk to somebody? But I decided maybe I do need to go talk to somebody and see why I'm feeling this way. And a lot of it was because of those limiting beliefs that I had on myself. And I know people be like, I don't want to hear about limiting beliefs, but it's true. We do put things on ourselves that hold us back. And for me, I was a people pleaser. I was always saying yes, yes, yes. I never wanted to say no. I was just like, I can do it for you. Or even if I did want to say no, it was just hard because I was like, you know what? They're going to come back to me anyway. But then I really found out why I was saying it. I was saying yes all the time because I was one of those people that I like to feel appreciated. And I feel like when I'm doing stuff for people, then I get that appreciation. But then I had to realize that's me. It has nothing to do with the other person. It's me. I have to realize that I am worthy. I am appreciated. I don't have to look or worry about what others think about me. And so I think for a lot of professionals, that's what we struggle with. A lot of times we don't have that community. We don't have anybody to talk to. We think that we're okay, but we don't realize that we do have some fears. We do have some beliefs that are holding us back. And so Elevate to Wellness is all about helping those busy professionals to slow down, to reduce that stress, to look within, stop worrying about what's on the outside and concentrate on what you need to do to be better on the inside. And when it comes to that self-care, to understand when you say no to somebody, you're really saying yes to yourself. And that's what it's all about.
Wow, you're dropping some true wisdom today, and I appreciate it. Big takeaway. First of all, discipline is really tough. It's a tough habit to cultivate, So I would like to get your thoughts on like someone who maybe lacks discipline, where's a place that they could start to build those good habits. And then also, I really love how you talked about, therapy. And I know for me, I'm typically like the only man of color in my role when I go, like specifically at work. And it kind of let me do my own thing, like, oh, he's got it, Free's got it, he's this and he's that. And then I find that I don't really have people to talk to either. And, I'm here in therapy, and that's kind of like a common theme. So, what are your thoughts on therapy? Is that something you'd recommend as a place to go for people that maybe need someone to talk to? And what if they're kind of timid in their approach to reaching out? Like, how do you take that first step?
So the first step, I would say this: everybody don't need to see a therapist. So I'm going to get that straight. But I do think it's important to understand that it's not taboo and that we need to talk about it, especially in the Black community, that just because you go and talk to a professional, it could be a therapist, it could be a counselor, it could be a coach, it could be a mentor. We need to have all four in our lives at some point to be able to help us out, because a lot of times when we try to go talk to like family or friends, they're not going to give you the real truth, because they know you, they don't want to hurt you, they don't want to really, dig too deep into it. And then a lot of times we're not truthful to them either. It just seems like when you go and talk to somebody that you're not close with, you can kind of let your guard down. So that's why I tell everybody is to first really look within your community and your circle first to see if it's somebody that you trust to talk to. And if it's not, and you feel like it's something that's really holding you down, you feel depressed, or you have anxiety or things of that nature, you need to see a professional. That's what they are trained to do, to help you work through it. Your friends are not professionals to be able to help you to go through it. Just like you're an artist, you had to learn how to do that. I'm not an artist. I can't draw like you draw. So if somebody come to me and ask me to draw something, I'm like, I can't do that. But I know the person that knows how to do it and lead them to you. So we got to look at therapists as trained professionals that are there to help us to get through those problems. And so yeah, that's the first thing. Look in your community. And that comes back to, like you said, not having somebody to talk to. A lot of times when we're in these high level positions, or we're in a field when we're only ourselves are there, we don't really see people of color there. It's important that we find community. We find like-minded individuals who understand what we are going through, that understand our struggles. It's not to say that our white brothers and sisters don't understand, but they don't understand our struggle. And so, we have to be able to find those communities. So I tell everybody, find a community that works for you. And every community is not for you. You'll know if you find peace when you're in that group of like-minded individuals and you find peace, then that's where you need to be at.
Beautiful. Well, I do have a question on being real. You talk about being real and setting limits. So how can, being yourself and setting boundaries just make you healthier and happier?
First of all, people don't know themselves. You got to get to know yourself first. So that means you got to sit down with self. You got to do some self-reflection. That's why I'm always talking about mindfulness. And I know people are like, I'm tired of hearing that word, but it's so true, because you have to be able to understand yourself. What's your desires? What's your needs? What do you want? If you don't know that, how can you express yourself or have meaningful relationships with others? That means you're putting on a facade all the time. Always, like everybody say, when you say, hey, how you doing? I'm doing fine. If you're not doing fine, say you're not doing fine. This is not a good day for me today. I need to sit down and chill because I got a lot of stuff that's on my mind. I've been learning how to say that, because a lot of times I used to always be like, I'm fine. Ain't nothing wrong. I'm okay, girl. What's up with you? Instead of like telling the truth. It's okay. That's what being real is all about. In social media, people be like, you always so positive. I be like, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm positive about 90% of the time, I'm not going to lie, but there's times that things get me down. But I also make sure that my circle I'm around, and I expose myself to positive things. That's like when you go on my timeline, like yourself, other people that I know, I'm always around people who have good energy, good vibes, because when you're around all that negativity, then that puts you in a whole different place. So you have to cultivate and know yourself first before you can do anything else. And that's the hard thing, getting to know self.
When you say that's the hard thing, it certainly is, especially when there's so much influence around you from, the time you're aware. What's one thing you could do to start to get to know yourself? One takeaway I got so far is controlling your timeline, right? Like making sure that what you get into, what you log into, you got some sort of control over what comes across based on who you follow. What's another, one or two things you can recommend where someone can begin the process of beginning to know themselves better?
So I say this: stand in front of a mirror, look at yourself, and you say, I am my star player. What is it about me that makes me a star? You need to know your strengths, because your strengths are the things that's going to take you further. A lot of times we know in business, we talk about doing a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Yeah, your weaknesses, you need to know what they are. But when we're talking about being successful in business and life, if you surround yourself with people who can really help you to develop those weaknesses, then you'll be all right. But where you can move farther and know more about your true self is really cultivating those strengths that you have. So stand in front of a mirror, look yourself in the eye and be like, who am I? And do that every single day so you feel comfortable being with self. That's one thing. The other thing is to sit down and journal. Get your thoughts out on paper, because you gotta be able to see it. So if you were feeling bad today, write down why you was feeling bad. What was your feeling? Don't hide from your feelings. That's another thing. We all hide from our feelings, and we think that it's bad to show emotion because we gotta be so tough and hard all the time. But it's okay. Get those emotions out on paper. Find out what's your triggers. What makes you want to act a certain way? What holds you back? The other thing is, I always say, start off small when doing these things. That comes back to discipline. You can't just cold turkey just drop something. It's not going to work. You know how people say, well, I want to lose 20 pounds in like 30 days, and they cut out all this stuff, but then they go right back to it. That's because you didn't have a strategy, you didn't have a plan so that you can stay consistent and disciplined over time. So start off small. Maybe you do that self-reflection in the mirror for 2 minutes starting out. Then it goes to 5 minutes. Then it goes to 10 minutes where you feel comfortable. Same thing with meditating. Meditating, people get, like, oh, I don't want to meditate. I can't do that. All it is just finding time to sit down and be still and connect with yourself. That's all. Be still and breathe. And so meditation, breathing, self-reflection, journaling, find out what works for you, because what works for me may not work for you, but there's so many different mindfulness techniques and things that you can do to help you to really understand yourself.
Wow, that's wonderfully said, and appreciate you laying out some direction, because there are a lot of people that don't know where to start. Again, because there's just so much influence and so many different types of people, saying where you should go, do this, do that, and in that process, it's easy to not consider yourself first. So certainly appreciate that input, and thank you very much for coming on to The Art of Being Freed and talking to us about how to balance mindfulness and wellness with you're just being successful, and also breaking down wellness. It's not just what you eat, right? So I think that's important to know. For this final question, I'd love for you to just kind of give the community an opportunity to know a bit more about just what you do where we can all find you, maybe any upcoming projects that are coming up, and I'll mute out here and let you just take the floor, and look forward to hearing about what's coming up with you.
Right now, I'm in a season of refinement. I am refining the things that I need to do to be prepared for 2024. And one thing for me is that I'm going to start speaking more in 2024. Yes, I've been on social media and been going live and doing all that stuff, but God has told me I need to let my voice be heard and to get back out here and speak more. And when I was in the military, I used to speak on big stages and do things all the time, and I kind of got away from it. And so, yeah, I'm going to be concentrating on speaking more, reaching out, being more active so I can get out here and get this message out about holistic wellness. The other thing is I do have my company, Elevate to Wellness. I was doing a lot of personal training because I'm a personal trainer and a group fitness instructor, but I'm kind of moving away from the coaching realm to doing more consultant, more in organizations, things of that nature, and also helping out with veteran organizations. So yeah, that's what's coming up for me. I'm also getting ready to launch. I am the president, well, I will soon be the president of the Fredericksburg chapter of Blacks in Tech. And so we'll be launching that next year, but we got some mixers and some great things that we're going to be doing coming up in December. So I'll be busy with that as well. And then I also have products that I sell. I have one of my sweatshirts on right now, Elevate Your Mind. And so, yeah, so I'm revamping my website so I can get these products out here. I do veteran events and all that. But if you want to actually see what I'm doing, go to Elevate to Wellness. It's elevate the number 2 wellness.com. My website is out there. It's going to be updated in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, a lot of great information is out there. Check me out on Instagram. I normally go live Mondays and Wednesday at 6:30 in the morning. That's Eastern Standard Time. I do what's called a mindset and mindful movement segment. And so we start off with 10 minutes with some kind of mindset inspiration around wellness. And then we finish off with some stretching and some breathing, so you can start your day. And also LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm trying to get more active on LinkedIn. I do articles on there. Actually, I'm due to put one out now. So yeah, check me out on LinkedIn, Instagram. Not really active on Facebook, but I'm on all the social media platforms at Yolanda M. Tate 123.
Awesome. Every time you talk, you just have some dopeness that follows. And first of all, congratulations. And I was peeping a hoodie and I was wondering what that was. So now I know, that you have merch. So I'm gonna have to get me a hoodie there.
Yep.
And then being active. And then my biggest takeaway as we part ways here is you're in a season of refinement. And that's wonderful. This is a great time I know I'm refining, I'm tying up loose ends, I'm decluttering. Like I want to clear the space, right? Like I just want to make sure I can see everything. So when I wake up in the morning, what am I seeing first, right? Like I want to make sure everything is tidy. So, and I know it goes deeper than that, but just when I hear season of refinement, like that's dope. So thank you, Yolanda, for coming through to the Art of Being Freed. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and just figuring out how we can balance success with wellness as we become more accomplished in our growth. So thank you very much for coming on to the Art of Being Free today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Kenny. Thank you.